Hello everyone, back tuning into today's first video. We're going to have a look at weather for the next week to 10 days for today's first video. This will take you to around the 6th of December, and we can extend out a little bit beyond that with the GFS because that actually runs to around 2 weeks away. We'll also have a look at CFS V2, and that's going to take us up towards Christmas. And talking of Christmas, we will have your 11th Christmas update coming up at Gazworthy's this evening. So quite a lot of uncertainty really as we're looking into December. I think the first week of December is going to be fairly straightforward in terms of being unsettled, quite wet and windy. But where things go as we get towards the end of the first week of December and then into the second week of December, that is a lot more uncertain. I'll talk you through what's happening very shortly. Just say that the Christmas shop is open, so you've got any Christmas shop to do at Amazon between now and Christmas. Then click the green button that says Gaz Christmas shop. It takes you through to our Christmas shop page. You'll know you're on the right page. You'll see snowflakes floating down the screen. And we've got an Amazon search widget in there, so you've got any Christmas shopping that you need to do at Amazon this year, then search out the item you'd like to buy in the search widget, and then you'll be taken through to Amazon to buy that item. Alternatively, you just click through the Amazon banners and get to Amazon and use their search widget. Whichever way you do it, you're still going to be doing your Christmas shopping at Amazon as usual. The only difference is that you've gone from Gazworthy's to Amazon, which means we get a revenue fee on the things that you are buying. Big thank you to everybody for doing that again for Gazworthy's this year, and you've still got plenty of time to get those Christmas presents out to you, of course. But yeah, big thank you to everybody for doing that. Right, so we've got some quite stormy weather coming up in the next few days. We'll start off with the weather warnings at the UK Met. They've just issued some warnings for Wednesday and for Thursday too. So the areas of particular interest are northern and eastern parts of Scotland, where we've got a wind and a rain warning, and also western parts of the UK, so southwest Scotland, Northern Ireland, northwest England, around these Irish sea coasts, down to the west of Wales and down to southwest England too. A spell of windy weather is expected to affect western parts of the UK and also in the northeast. Some delays to public transport are likely, and journey times could take longer. Delays for high-sided vehicles on exposed routes and bridges are likely. Some short-term power loss of power and other services is possible, and it's likely that some coastal routes, seafronts and coastal communities are going to be affected by spray and or large waves. So at the moment this is just a yellow warning. It's nothing too worrisome, but of course we need to keep an eye on it. It's still quite early days. This is for Wednesday and for Thursday, so this kind of like starts at 9 o'clock in the morning and runs till 9 in the evening on Wednesday. And so we need to be keeping an eye. There's still a little while for this to be upgraded. So weather's going to be livening up anyway. We've been in a prolonged spell of sort of quiet, high-pressure blocking type weather. Things are really going to be livening up through this week with wind and rain on the way. And I say that's going to last into the first days of December as well, we think. So these are the 500 millibar height anomaly flowcharts from Penn State University. We've got the ECMWF here on the top, and the GFS, which I'll have a look in a moment, is on the bottom. 500 millibars, anyone's this area in the absolute high pressure and low pressure being moved around by the jet stream. Red extrapolates high pressure, blue to low pressure. The ECM is very blocked in the 7 to 10 day time frame. It still has this big blocking area of high pressure across the north of Scandinavia and going into the west of Russia, and then that high pressure extends up into the Arctic, and it actually extends right way over to the Pacific side of the Arctic, around that Pacific coast of Canada just there. So a very extensive blocking feature there over the North Pole, but just not quite in the right position to deliver us particularly cold weather. It is nosing in towards Greenland, north of Greenland to some degree, but we remain with this sort of westerly flow, and then the trough sort of digs down into eastern parts of Europe, so it will be turning quite a lot colder there. Jet stream is dipping down in the 500 millibar flow within that trough, so certainly eastern parts of Europe are looking a lot colder in the 7 to 10 day time frame. We're just about hanging on to Atlantic westerly winds, but certainly it's fairly close run thing actually, although we have got this high pressure down across Spain and Portugal. That would need to go away to get anything particularly cold, but it's a fairly close run thing to turning things cold. And if we could run on a few more days beyond this, further into the second week of December, we might find that the pattern begins to evolve into a colder direction again. This is how the GFS is looking in the 7 to 10 day time frame. Not as much of a blocking signal. The blocking is weaker, but there is still some high pressure to the north of Scandinavia and back into western parts of Russia. Again, keeping a little bit of an Atlantic influence here, with the jet stream and the flow moving in from off the Atlantic, not dipping that trough down into east of Europe as much either, and it does still have the high pressure around Spain and Portugal. So in the 7 to 10 day time frame, we keep an Atlantic influence, but again, it probably wouldn't take too much of an adjustment to start to turn things colder beyond the 7 to 10 day time frame. This is how the GFS ensembles are looking for the next couple of weeks. Looking at Chelmsford today, the red line here is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Chelmsford. We're starting off a little bit colder than average just for today, but after that, through tomorrow into the middle of the week, it turns much milder, and we're actually going into a zonal type spell of weather. So we get these warmer and cooler sectors alternating, but of course when you average it all out, you do come out at this time of year significantly milder than average when you're in a zonal spell of weather. That lasts into the early part of next week, and then beyond that through the rest of the first week of December into the second week of December, lots and lots of uncertainty. So we have got several ensemble members that are really very, very mild indeed through this second week of December, but we also have several that are really quite cold, even very cold. And between the warmest and coldest ensemble members, there is something like a 20-degree temperature differential, which is it is a lot. That's a big differential between the warmest and coldest ensemble members. And so looking at how much scatter there is within the GFS ensembles, I don't think you could really make a prediction about what is going to happen through this second week of December based on that. Like I said when I did Ensembles Watch last night, all options are on the table and it's all to play for, whatever sort of weather you like. If you like it cold, whether you like it mild in the winter, it's all to play for, all options on the table. As far as precipitation is concerned, a much wetter spell of weather coming up, so we've got plenty of rain through starting tomorrow and going through Wednesday to Thursday, but a little bit drier Friday to Saturday, and then more wet weather through the weekend and into the early part of next week as well. Beyond that, probably a bit of a drying trend. That does look quite clear. A little bit of a drying trend as we go through this second week or into the second week of December. It's really the temperatures that are causing all of the confusion. Will it be drier and mild, or will it be drier and colder? We'll have to wait and see. Temperature anomalies for the next week from the 26th of November to the 4th of December. Milder than average for colder than average. Temperature anomalies are being shoved down into the east and the southeast of Europe as the central, northern and western parts of Europe turn milder than average. Precipitation anomalies generally a little bit above average with rainfall in the week ahead from the 26th of November to the 4th of December. A little bit above average for the UK and for Ireland. Some parts of France also coming out a bit wetter than average. Over in the east of Europe, it does look a little bit drier there, particularly towards the northeast. This is how the GFS is looking for Thursday then, so another bout of wet and windy weather will be heading in from off the Atlantic on Thursday. So we've got rain coming in tomorrow, that will affect many parts of the country tomorrow. Then another bout of wind and rain tomorrow night into Wednesday. That is Storm Diane, and that could well give those severe gale force winds to the west. And then Thursday we get another bout of wet weather heading in from off the Atlantic. So between Tuesday and Thursday, it does look as though we're under the cosh a little bit from these areas of low pressure. Now we get through to Friday and we're going into a rather showery type situation then. We go more northwesterly as well, so we'll become a little bit cooler at the end of the week. Low pressure returns though as we go through into the weekend with more bouts of wind and rain heading in from off the Atlantic via this area of low pressure to the west of Ireland. And these unsettled conditions stay with us into the early part of next week. This is a week away, Monday the 3rd of December. It's looking wet and windy again with low pressure to the west of Scotland. Then on Tuesday, that low pressure moves to the east of Scotland, starts to pull down a colder northwesterly to northerly wind. but it doesn't last very long. That's very quickly cut off as this ridge begins to build in from off the Atlantic. So we're under high pressure as we go through to day 10, that little bout of very wet and windy weather, certainly not lasting all that long, and by the time we get through to Thursday the 6th of December, day 10 has us back under high pressure. That probably brings quite mild conditions for Scotland and Northern Ireland, but for England and Wales probably quite cold, with fairly widespread overnight frost and fog. In the more extended range of this GFS run, we keep this anticyclonic influence going. So, again, that bout of unsettled low-pressure dominated weather really not lasting all that long. It is quite significant while it's going on. We do get several bouts of very heavy rain and strong winds, but overall fairly short-lived, and it looks like we quite quickly get ourselves back to high pressure again, which of course has been a recurring theme throughout this year. It's been a very dry year, and we've had lots and lots of high pressure, which gave us initially the beast from the east of cold weather back in February, March. It also gave us the hot summer. And still these high pressure influences continue, and the bouts of low pressure, when they do occur, tending to be relatively short-lived. So anyway, we get to Saturday the 8th of December in the extended range of the GFS, and we find ourselves dominated by high pressure. The centre of high pressure is across central parts of Europe, but it is extending a ridge to the UK, and will probably be bringing frost and fog if it came off. Then a little bit beyond that, we start to try and move that high pressure up towards Scandinavia. So now we're beginning to pull down some very cold air on the eastern side of this ridge. We've got cold air plunging down into eastern parts of Europe. Not quite enough of an easterly to start backing that towards us at this point, but certainly quite cold, I would have thought, and about high pressure for us, and certainly the chance of frost and fog as well. That's how we finish up this GFS run on Wednesday the 12th of December. High pressure again is dominating. The cold air is on the eastern side of the high pressure, plunging down into eastern parts of Europe. The proper cold air, the true sort of Arctic air, that's across eastern parts of Europe with those very cold upper air temperatures. Our upper air temperatures are relatively mild, so it's relatively mild a lot, but of course it's under a winter high pressure, so it would be cold on the surface, with frost and fog a distinct possibility. This is a parallel run of the GFS, so this will be the operational run next year. At the moment it's being run in parallel to what we're just looking at, the operational GFS. Next year this will take over as the new version of the operational GFS run, upgraded, of course. So again, wet and windy conditions through the rest of this week into weekend. Low pressure never far away, and that low pressure still dominating as we're going into next week as well. That's how we're looking through the middle part of next week. Still unsettled. High pressure is down to our south and southeast. We've got low pressure running through the country. Notice we are raising heights a little bit to our northwest with the parallel run of the GFS. And actually, as we get to day 10, that low pressure moves away in towards southern Scandinavia, and we start to turn the wind into more of a northerly direction then. And then, interestingly, in the extended range, we do start to build up this area of high pressure around Greenland and Iceland. So this is very different to what the operational run of the GFS was just showing, where it has a high pressure across central parts of Europe at this point on Saturday the 8th of December. The parallel run of the GFS model, that has high pressure around Greenland and Iceland, with the trough plunging through Scandinavia. This area of low pressure, squeezed between the two, turns the wind into the north and northeast. So that gives us a direct hit of Arctic air at the end of the first week of December. And these cold conditions, block conditions, stay with us into the second week of December as well. It's as far as we can go to Wednesday the 12th of December, and it looks cold, that cold and wintry, with high pressure blocking to our north. So again, it's just a reflection of the uncertainty we've got for this period as we go further into December. Very, very uncertain. All options are on the table. ECM looks like that, wet and windy through the course of the second half this week and into next weekend as well. Low pressure will be regularly moving in from off the Atlantic, giving us spells of rain and potentially quite strong winds as well. We're moving up towards day 10. That's how we look at day 10. So quite a lot of high pressure to our north. We saw it on the height anomaly flow charts. Lots and lots of high pressure within the northern latitudes by the time we get through to day 10. We're still relatively mild because we've got this high pressure down to our south around Biscay and going down to Spain and Portugal. So the air is being brought up rather like that. But again, it's very inconclusive where that will go as we move into the second week of December. You could easily envisage either we would stay quite mild or maybe anticyclonic with this area of high pressure just eventually sitting over the UK and much of Central Europe. That's one possibility. The other possibility is that this blocking signal could strengthen. The heights could pull out in that direction and we could start to turn wind into the north or possibly even into the east. So again, really inconclusive at day 10 where it will go beyond that. At day 10 it is quite mild there, but it could easily evolve into a colder situation. So again, just a lot of uncertainty through this early part of December. Finally, CFSV2 for the next month. So these are 500 millibar heights broken down into weekly periods. The first weekly period will take us from the 26th of November to the 2nd of December with above average heights down to our southwest, below average heights in the Atlantic, but quite a strong blocking signal up to the north. That does leave us fairly mild, bring wind in from off the Atlantic Ocean. Week 2 looks like that, the 3rd to the 9th of December, building this ridge up to our south and into the UK, but below average heights out to the west. The flow of jets doing something like that. Turning quite a lot colder across the east of Europe as this, and southeast of Europe, as this trough digs in within the 500 millibar flow. For us though, we're under that ridge, so a lot of quiet weather. The model will say it's very mild. And of course, it could be very mild if the breeze is moving up from like the Canary Islands. But the danger with those scenarios is always that the high pressure will be sitting more or less over the top of the country. You'll get an inversion, bringing cold air on the surface with frost and fog, whilst it's relatively mild aloft in the atmosphere. Then we go through to week 3, which is the 10th to the 16th of December. CFSV2 show this area of above average heights, generally a little bit to the south of the UK, below average heights up to the north. That's reverting to a flat westerly flow, so that's going to be more unsettled, but also potentially quite mild. And then we go through to week 4, which is the 17th through to the 23rd of December, and we pull that area of above average heights out into the middle of the Atlantic, below average heights to the north, but also the northeast of the country. That's starting to send us into a northwesterly flow as we're moving up towards Christmas. So probably unsettled and maybe going a little bit colder as well as we start to bring the wind out of the Arctic, or out of Greenland, I suppose. That will probably be starting to turn things a little bit colder moving up towards Christmas, although it isn't a proper cold spell at that point because there's no sort of northern blocking signal. But maybe temperatures beginning to lower and quite unsettled moving towards Christmas. Temperature anomalies in week 1, 26th of November to 2nd of December, much milder than average. Week 2, temperature anomalies looking very mild in week 2, although remember it's quite anticyclonic, so there might be some frost and fog which a model won't be able to pick up on because it's looking at the parameters within the upper atmosphere. Really. Week 3, temperature anomalies from the 10th to 16th of December, they are also looking mild, so a mild first half to December is CFS right. Week 4, 17th to the 23rd of December, is also milder than average, a little bit less so though than the earlier weeks. I do think by the time you get through to week 4, if we're sending the jet stream on a northwest-southeast alignment, it could possibly be turning a little bit cooler. Finally, precipitation anomalies 26th of November, 2nd of December, much wetter than average in the week ahead. Week 2, precipitation anomalies drier to our south, near normal elsewhere. Week 3, precipitation anomalies close to average as the signal is weakening. And then week 4, precipitation anomalies, again, very close to average as the signal once again is beginning to become quite weak. So, it's a very uncertain picture. We can say we're in for a really unsettled spell of weather in the next few days, starting tomorrow, lasting through the rest of this week, lasting through the weekend, and even into certainly the early part of next week. We're going to have bouts of wind and rain moving in off the Atlantic. At times it could be a little bit stormy. Where we go in around a week's time, or maybe a little bit more than a week's time, so when we go from, say, days 9, 10, that much more uncertain, and then into the second week of December, also very uncertain. It seems that all options are still on the table. We've got the GFS turning us anticyclonic, probably quite cold and frosty. We've got the parallel GFS run turning us much colder, bringing about another wintry spell of weather. The ECM is inconclusive at day 10. And then we've got the CFS, which is often running, as it often is, with a very mild first half to December. So we'll wait and see where this is going. In the next few days, it's stormy, but it doesn't look as though this very unsettled and stormy weather is going to last all that long. It looks like it's only a few days, and then we're going back to high pressure. But where that high pressure is going to sit will be, as always, the critical factor. Right, we've got the 11th Christmas update coming up for you this evening. That'll be around 7 o'clock. Tomorrow we'll have a look at the ECMWF ensembles for the next month. That takes us towards the Christmas period. And there'll be your regular week to 10 day video update too. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.